Hey guys, Chris Fix here. Have you ever been driving down the road and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere,
You gotta be kidding me.
a rock kicks up and chips your windshield? Well, don't you worry, because today I'm going to show you everything that you need to know on how to repair a chip in your windshield. So we're going to go from this unsightly chip right there to this, a repaired and practically invisible chip, which not only looks good, but it'll prevent the chip from spreading any further. And we'll be doing this windshield chip repair using one of these store-bought kits. So let me show you how. Now, there are a bunch of different windshield repair kits on the market. The good thing is they all work on the same principle. What you're doing is you're going to be using a glass resin, which we're going to be injecting into the chip. That resin then hardens, which makes the chip a lot less visible, and it also prevents it from spreading. But before you go out and spend money on one of these kits, the first thing you want to do is make sure your chip is repairable. And this is actually pretty simple to do. Let's go check out the chip on the Mustang. So since we need to inject resin into the chip, there has to be a hole for the resin to pass through. So run your fingernail over the chip and see if you could feel an indent. In this case, I can. You could also use the push pin that comes with the kit to do the same thing. Also, most chips that are fixable have an air gap, which you could see up here and down here. And the final test has to do with size, so if your chip fits underneath a quarter, it's small enough to repair. So this chip is definitely repairable. But if your chip is larger than a quarter, it's going to be tough to fix with one of these store-bought kits. And if your chip is way larger than a quarter, I wouldn't fix the windshield, I'd replace it. It's also generally recommended that you replace the windshield if you have any chips or cracks that are right on the edge of the windshield. The reason being is your windshield is actually a structural part of your car. If you get into an accident, the windshield helps transfer the energy throughout the body and frame of the car. Also, if you roll your car, the windshield helps support the roof. So any chips or cracks along the edge of the windshield, as well as cracks that are longer than about 8 inches, weakens the glass. So it might be a good idea to replace the windshield. And I actually have a really cool example to show you how windshield glass keeps you safe. So let's go check that out. Alright, so I have 3 types of glass to show you. First is your regular glass. This will not be found in cars, and here's why. Not only is regular glass weak and easy to break, but when it does break, it breaks into these large, sharp shards. Imagine your windshield was made of this, and then you get into an accident. You'll have these things flying right at you. Definitely not what you want. The next type of glass that we have is tempered glass, and this is found on cars. This is what your side windows and rear windows are made of. And let me show you why. That is not breaking. Holy smokes. And as you could tell, tempered glass is very strong. That is why side and rear windows are made of tempered glass. But here's why it's not used for the windshield. If you get something hard that has a point to it, maybe like a pebble or something, or in this case, this little hammer right here, you just tap it, the glass breaks up into these very small pieces. Now, while tempered glass is very strong, as you can see, it's not good for the windshield because anytime a rock kicks up, it could shatter into a million pieces. And imagine that happening while you're driving. And that's why they make windshields out of laminated glass. And laminated glass is exactly as it sounds. So in between this glass is a piece of plastic, and that plastic holds both of these pieces of glass together. And let me show you why the windshield is made out of laminated glass. So I got my hammer, and after hitting this piece of glass with the hammer, you could see, check it out, we did damage the glass, it is broken, but it's still one whole piece. That lamination in between holds the glass together so you don't end up with a bunch of glass shards on your lap. It also prevents things from penetrating the windshield, like if you hit a deer. And I mean, we could keep hitting this until it's really weak, so that lamination is really holding this glass together. It's still one sheet, and that's why your windshield is made of laminated glass. And that's also why we're able to repair it, so let me show you how. And here are the 2 most common windshield repair kits. On this side, this kit is good because it does multiple chips, but it doesn't pull a vacuum. In this case, this kit will actually pull a vacuum to help get the air out of the chip, but it only does 1 chip. They're both around the same price. I'll be sure to link both of them in the description so you can easily find them. And today we're going to be using this chip kit because I have 1 chip and I like to be able to pull a vacuum. It helps remove all the air bubbles so our chip is crystal clear. So let's get started. And in order to get started, you want to make sure that your car is in the shade. I have the shade of this tree right here, so that's perfect. And the windshield isn't too hot. It is a very hot day out. If it's cold out, you might want to move your car into the garage if you have one. If you don't have one, turn the car on and turn the heat on inside so that your windshield warms up. You want a warm windshield, but you don't want it to be in the direct sunlight. So now it's time to fix that chip right there. I put a piece of cardboard on the back of the glass so we could easily see the chip, and we're going to be using everything supplied in the kit. The first thing you want to do is you want to get your safety pin and go and pick out any of the broken glass inside the chip. Next, open the alcohol wipe and clean the area around the chip so we have a good bonding surface for the adhesive disc. And a quick tip, when fixing chips, make sure you don't rest your body weight on the windshield. You don't want to press too hard on the glass because that could cause the chip to spread. So next we're going to be using this adhesive disc. So just peel off one side of the adhesive and you want this tab facing up. So center the disc over the hole in the glass, just like that. Then push on the disc and make sure it's stuck on there good. Now we can peel off the top of the disc, revealing another adhesive layer. And get the pedestal and center it so it's right over the middle of the disc. Then press down around the whole pedestal to make sure it's stuck on there securely. Now we're going to add resin to our pedestal, but some of that resin could leak out and make a mess. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab some tape and put that tape down and then just fold over this edge so that any resin that leaks out gets caught by the tape. Next, grab the resin dropper and twist off the cap, and then we could add the resin to the pedestal all the way to the top. Good. Now with the pedestal filled, we could get our syringe and make sure the plunger is pressed all the way in. With this pressed in, now we can push the syringe into the pedestal. So now this is the cool part. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put one hand on the syringe and hold the syringe down, and you're gonna pull the plunger up. You should feel a lot of resistance, which means it's working. There is a vacuum being pulled. And you see that tab on the plunger? That's what we want to pull it to, that last tab there, and then lock it in place on the top. Now this syringe is a vacuum chamber, and it's sucking the air out of the chip. Let me show you from the inside. Inside, look at all that air getting sucked out of the chip. That's exactly what we want. So now we want to wait until we don't see any air bubbles getting sucked out. But in the meantime, a little trick to help remove even more trapped air from the chip is to knock on the glass around the chip. Not too hard because we don't want the chip to spread, but hard enough to help vibrate any air out because any air left in the chip is going to make that chip visible. So this trick helps a lot to make it clear. Now once the bubbles stop coming out of the chip, we're ready to move on to the next step. So right now the resin is still down in this pedestal, but right here, this is all the air that was sucked out of that chip. So for the next step, we're going to hold down the pedestal and carefully remove the syringe. And then we're going to just simply put it back in. What that did was allow air into the syringe, so this isn't a vacuum anymore. And now we're going to compress this plunger, and the more we compress it, the more pressure we're building in here, which is going to force that resin deep into the chip. Once this is pressurized, we want to lock it in place with that top tab, and let's see what that chip looks like from inside the car. Oh man, this is looking better already, but you can see there's still a little spot right there that isn't clear. That should go away after a few minutes, and the instructions say to leave it for about 20 minutes, but I have a little trick on how to get rid of it. What you want to do is you want to carefully push the plunger in just a little bit more. Not too much, because if you add too much pressure, you'll blow out this disc, and then you'll get resin everywhere and you'll have to start over. Don't ask how I know that. But once you have this compressed just a little bit more, tap around the chip to help vibrate the resin deeper into the chip. And check that out, that looks awesome! This is almost perfect and way better than what we started with. So after we let this sit for a while, we could remove the syringe. Just do this slowly, good. And then we could grab our razor, and we're going to remove the pedestal and disc by sliding the razor underneath and working our way around them both. And then we could peel them both up. And the pedestal's coming off, so I'll remove that, and then peel the rest of the disc off. Good. And although it's tempting, don't try to wipe up your resin with a paper towel. You'll just contaminate the resin. Instead, get your resin dropper and put one drop right on the chip. Then get your curing strip, and you want to put it at the bottom here, bend it, and press it up against your resin. That'll force all the air out. And then to get even more air out, use your razor and squeegee out any bubbles. Holy smokes, that is looking so good. Wait till you see this. And we are almost done. I cannot wait to see how this chip came out. But right now, we don't want to touch this. We want to let this sit and cure. And because we're in the shade, it takes about an hour to cure. Same goes for if it's a cloudy day, it'll take an hour to cure. If you want, you can move your car into the sun, and then it only takes 15 minutes for it to cure, but I'm not gonna move the car, so in an hour we'll see the results. 1 hour later, let's go see how we did. And I just want to mention real quick, since our resin is cured by UV sunlight, if you want, you can actually use one of these UV flashlights to cure the resin. And I'm mentioning this because this is what the professionals do. It's quick, and some of you guys work in a garage, so you don't have sunlight, so you could use this. Just want to mention that real quick. But we waited the full hour in the shade, so let's remove the curing strip. So when we remove this curing strip, we don't want to just get the blade and then pop it off, because if you pop it off, you could pull the resin out of the chip and it won't look good. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold down the resin where our chip is and just get our blade underneath around the edge. Just try to get as much as you can lifted up without lifting up the area where the chip is. Now we only have a little area to pull out. What we're going to do is we're going to twist it just like that. Now we have a layer of resin on here that we want to clean off, and holy smokes, this looks crystal clear. I can't even get the camera to focus on this area right here. This is where the curing strip was, and our chip is right there. So because we have a layer of resin on here, what we're going to do now is get a razor and scrape it perpendicular to the glass. The razor will scrape away the resin, but it won't scratch the glass. So just scrape away the resin so it looks clear and the chip is even with the glass. Man, look at that. Check out this before and after. Here's before, and here's after. What a difference. I'm gonna remove this tape. And I know the windshield has to get cleaned, but look at that. Let's go check out inside the car. So here's the before. You can see we could easily find the chip, and it sticks out, and it's kind of distracting. And this is the after, and wait till you see this. Or wait till you can't see it. This is awesome. So if we look, you can kind of get it right there. It's hard to pick up on the camera, but there's a little mark. Yeah, I think you can kind of see that right there. It's a slight mark, and at the right angles, you could kind of see it. Even the camera, you can see it's focusing in and out, can't see it. So, I mean, while you're driving, you're never gonna be able to see that. So that is a job well done. If you can't tell, I'm really happy with it. All right, now that's how you repair a chip in your windshield. And I think these results speak for themselves. This came out awesome. And I hope this video helps you get similar results. If you enjoyed the video, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button, because I show how you could fix your car at home yourself. And as always, all the products I use in my videos are linked in the description so you could easily find them.